Chris.
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 Bennett.
My name is Chris Bennett, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak here. I'm representing myself, just a private citizen, and over the last 8 years I've been developing a project which has the goal of educating people about how to recognize the symptoms of child abuse. How I got onto this is, in 1999 I was volunteering for the Los Angeles Police Department in a program called the Crisis Response Team. We would get called out when somebody died suddenly to administer emotional first aid. And I became super overloaded with stress and unable to work, so I started going to UCLA's medical library, where my father has been a professor of medicine, and reading all about stress and health and copying really valuable studies, which the information I'd never heard, and it's not really discussed publicly. So somebody was asking about best practices. I found the best practices, and they're mostly not being followed by the mainstream. So I have way too much more information that can fit into 3 minutes, but I wanted to briefly go through some of the information that I'm bringing to this. The handout that I gave you is a chart I put together of all the symptoms of mental disorders that kids are being diagnosed with. As you can see, I put it in a chart next to the symptoms of stress, and the symptoms are identical. So the problem with giving people a label of bipolar disorder when they actually have post-traumatic stress disorder is that it leads them on the wrong track for treatment. Bipolar disorder is commonly thought of as incurable and with a genetic cause, and abuse is curable and it's got a human cause. So for example, about a year ago I met a girl at Starbucks right here over on BK's and 71, and she was a young girl, so I said, well, are you in college or something? And she said, no, I had a really hard time in school, so I quit. And she said, I have ADD, attention deficit disorder. So I said, well, did you know that the symptoms for ADD are the same as stress? She said, no. So we talked a little bit more, and it turned out that when she was diagnosed with ADHD, her parents were fighting a lot, and she was getting bullied at school. So the school psychologist diagnosed her and put her on medication, but they didn't deal with the stress issues. So when I met her 10 years after that, she was still depressed. She was smoking cigarettes and taking illegal drugs. So I found a lot of other cases like this, and in the packet that I passed out, there's a lot of support for this, for what I told you. Second issue, briefly, is the Forgotten Children report draws a more urgent picture about the situation in foster care than, sort of the way it's being discussed here today. The Forgotten Children report, I got it here, I read it, and it says that there's an emergency, that it's an urgent situation, that kids are being abused and there's not enough resources. So I would like to suggest that this committee participate in helping set up what Carol Strayhorn suggested, which was an ongoing committee that's working on fixing these problems. She called it a crisis response committee or something. So, because then they're working on it every day, whereas everybody here is working on dozens of issues every day. So it's maybe, you need that kind of help from a special committee. So I've already contacted, I spoke to Carol Strayhorn's son, and he's relaying the proposal to her. I've invited her to be part of the team, and I've gotten in contact with a number of other experts, psychologists, who I believe would provide a new direction for the solutions that you're creating here.
I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up your remarks.
Yeah.
To be fair to everybody.
So I'm on a mission to end child abuse, and I've got quite a bit more testimony, so I will seek ways to connect with this committee, and so that my testimony can get fully understood. Because of my experiences, I feel that I'm very close to the pain of these children, as I'm sure all of you are. And it truly requires crisis kind of action.
Well, we certainly appreciate your passion, and I think all of us share your mission. So we look for all the help we can get.
Okay.
Thank you. Sandra Donahue.